Okay, let's just dive right in. The world of AI tools is, well, it's exploding, right? There's a new one every single day, and frankly, it's getting kind of overwhelming. So in this explainer, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to focus on the few tools you actually need, and this is the important part, when to use each one.
You know that feeling of AI tool fatigue? You hear about ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, the list goes on, and on the surface, they all kind of seem to do the same thing. It's almost impossible to know where to even begin, or which one is the right choice for what you need to do, like, right now.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to solve today. The goal here isn't to just give you a list of tools, it's to give you a really simple but powerful mental model. We're going to completely reframe how you think about these AIs, not as a bunch of competitors, but as specialists, each with its own unique superpower.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with your everyday generalist tools, the ones you'll use for most things. Then we'll get into the specialists that are hyper-focused on doing one job really well. After that, we'll see how you can combine them into a crazy powerful workflow, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with a super clear framework you can start using immediately.
First up, your everyday AI toolkit. Now, these are the three big general-purpose chatbots you've probably heard of: ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. And, they might seem interchangeable, but they've actually become surprisingly different from each other.
Let's start with the OG, right? ChatGPT. While some others might be catching up in raw power, ChatGPT's crown jewel, its real superpower, is something you could call radical obedience. In simple terms, it is the absolute best at following a long and complicated list of instructions without dropping the ball.
So here's the key takeaway for you. If your task has a ton of different moving parts, and if getting just one of them wrong messes the whole thing up, you start with ChatGPT. Other AIs might kind of decide they know better or just quietly skip a step. ChatGPT just does what you tell it to do.
And here's a perfect real-world example of what I mean. When given a super detailed hiring rubric with like a dozen specific rules, ChatGPT nailed every single one. Gemini's answer? It looked pretty good at first glance, but it had quietly dropped a few of the requirements. That, right there, is obedience in action.
Okay, next up is Google's Gemini. So where ChatGPT wins on obedience, Gemini wins on something called multimodality. Now that's a really fancy word, but it just means it was built from the ground up to understand a mix of media, video, audio, images, and text, all at the same time.
This chart pretty much says it all. Only Gemini can natively watch a video or listen to audio. The others have to use these clunky workarounds. And you combine that with its absolutely massive 1 million token context window, and you can just throw huge files at it, like a video of a meeting, a slide deck, and a photo of a whiteboard, and ask it to make sense of everything.
So, to put it really simply, you use ChatGPT when you need an assistant that follows your complex checklist to the letter. You use Gemini when you need an assistant that can process and understand different types of media all together in one single go. And rounding out our big three is Claude. Its superpower is producing incredibly high-quality first drafts. What that means is Claude's first attempt at writing something or coding is often much closer to a finished product, which means fewer revisions for you.
This superpower really shines in a couple of areas. First, developers seem to agree that it consistently writes code that just works. I heard about one user who doesn't even know how to code, and they got it to write a working script in the Go language on the very first try. And second, it is exceptional at polishing writing. You can give it your past work, and it'll match your unique tone and style almost perfectly.
Okay, so now that we've got our generalists down, let's talk about the specialists. These are tools that aren't trying to do everything under the sun. Instead, they are fine-tuned to do one specific thing exceptionally well.
But first, let's clear up a common misconception, because this confuses a lot of people. A tool like Perplexity isn't a totally new AI built from scratch. What happens is, a lab like OpenAI builds a massive foundational model, like GPT. Then, a company like Perplexity takes that model and fine-tunes it, optimizing it for a very specific job, in their case, search.
And this brings us to the core difference, the key idea I want you to remember. Think of it as reasoning versus fetching. You use the general chatbots for reasoning, to help you think, to brainstorm ideas, or to create a narrative. You use specialist tools for fetching, when you just need a specific, accurate fact, and you need it fast.
And the undisputed king of fetching is Perplexity. Its superpower is finding accurate information, with sources, incredibly quickly. For this kind of task, you can really think of it as a direct replacement for using Google's AI search modes.
Here's a great example to make this really concrete.
Let's say you're planning a complex multi-day trip to Japan, you're weighing different options, building an itinerary. That's a creative reasoning task. That's for ChatGPT. But finding out right now if a specific restaurant in Tokyo is foreigner-friendly, that's a grab-and-go fetching task. That is perfect for Perplexity.
Our next specialist is Notebook LM, and its superpower is all about source fidelity. Think of it like a walled garden. You upload your own documents, research papers, meeting transcripts, reports, and it will only answer questions based on the information inside those specific documents. Because it can't draw from any outside knowledge, its chance of hallucinating, just making stuff up, is much, much lower. This is perfect for checking if your marketing claims contradict your own source data or for flagging any part of a script that isn't directly supported by your research. Just remember, the output is only as good as the sources you give it.
So now we know all the individual superpowers. But the real magic, the real game changer, happens when you stop thinking about which tool is best and you start combining them into your own personal workflow. Let's see how this all comes together.
This content creator's workflow is a perfect example of how to do this. You could start with ChatGPT or Gemini for the heavy lifting of brainstorming and outlining. Then you hand that rough draft over to Claude for that last mile, to polish the copy and match your unique voice. And finally, you use Perplexity as a little search scalpel to quickly verify any specific facts.
Whew, we have covered a lot. So let's distill all of this down into one final crystal clear framework. Basically a cheat sheet that summarizes everything we've talked about so you can put it into practice right away.
And here it is. This is the slide to screenshot. ChatGPT is for obedience when you have complex tasks. Gemini is for multimodality when you're mixing different media. Claude is for high-quality first drafts of your writing and your code. Perplexity is for fast, factual fetching. And Notebook LM is for source fidelity when you have your own trusted documents.
By focusing on the unique superpower of each tool, you can move past all the confusion and start building a system that actually works for you. So the only question left is this. Looking at your own work, what you need to do today, which one of these superpowers do you need to use right now?